I have to interrupt the Dementialand series with a particular story. This story is written further in the book, but because it's Good Friday and it has been a horrendous week, I want to put it in right here. The Girl with Two Birthdays. Every Good Friday, for as long as I can remember, my mother would tell me about the day I died and came back to life. I heard this story again and again, and each time I listened as if I was hearing it for the first time. The story never changed, except for when she got the dementias. That's when the facts got a bit jumbled. She added a few more characters, some of her favorite television celebrities, and dead people, as well as a goat from Indiana and a side trip to Miami Beach for a Tupperware convention. Somehow she made it all fit in her story and made it actually believable. I had to use all my thinking to follow her, but the ending was always the same. I lived. It's a story about a girl who had two birthdays. Her first birthday was on a warm Chicago day in June. Her second birthday was on a snowy day, a Good Friday, when she was a little girl lying on the floor at Pulaski's drugstore.
Your father was at work that day shift at Western Electric. I was upset that he was working on the most religious of holy days. It was snowing heavy, God's punishment to all the weather-complaining peoples in Chicago who went to work instead of church. It was a heavy snow that stopped all traffic on the side streets. On the busy streets, cars drove in tunnels made from snowplows bearing the parked cars on each side. I was busy in the kitchen wiping down the table from the breakfast morning. Mira, your older sister, was in the bathroom sitting on the edge of a porcelain tub. One leg was in the tub, and the other was tapping hard and loud on the bathroom floor. I heard her tapping away from the kitchen. She would tell you to hurry up and do your business. Your poop was moving too slow for her.
I don't exactly remember the details. The image has been refined and tailored every time I hear the story. My sister was about 10. She was tall for her age, a bit more growing up for just being 10. She had far better things to do than to watch her little sister, me, sit on the potty waiting to be intestinally inspired. I remember the bathroom was small and narrow. The potty was between the sink and the grounded toilet. The floor had small black and white octagons. Turquoise plastic tiles never completed their climb up the wall. They stopped 3/4 of their way. At the far end was an old wood window that opened unevenly. Its lopsided opening made the way for bad air to leave and good air to come inside. Not sure how the heirs figured this out, but they did, and it worked. I was small for my age and too short to use the room's grown-up toilet. I sat on my own little throne, sitting between the two porcelains, resting my crossed arms on my bruised knees, picking at the overdone scabs. I had tree-climbing legs filled with bruises and black and blue moons. The hairs on my head split, creating two cockeyed pigtails above my ears, one considerably higher than the other. But they evened themselves out when I tilted my head to one side while sending telepathic messages to my sister Mira. Don't even think of leaving this room until I poop. I was a budding smartass at an early age.
Well, you were in the bathroom on the potty, and Mira was watching you. And then I heard your sister screaming. You know, normally she's not much of a screamer. So I go running into the bathroom, and when I got there, you were shaking all right, like the devil himself was inside of you. I didn't know what to think. You were burning up with fire's heat. Your cries were stuck inside of you, trying to push their way out. You curled your fists around the heat of your fever. I grabbed you fast, bent over the sink, and let the cold faucet pour its water all over you. At the same time, I yelled over for Mira to turn on the tub water. I told your sister to use the cold knob only and put in the stopper. Oh, she was frozen in place. I had to yell at her again. I screamed the scare out of her so hard she back-slammed her body right into the wall. Then she did what I told her to do. I ran back into the kitchen and got some ice. I held you tight in my arms. Your face was burning hot. Your whole body was dripping red and still shaking like a mad dog. I didn't know what to do. I grabbed everything out of the freezer, ice trays, roasts, frozen peas, everything freezing cold that I could hold. I was scared the fire inside of you would boil your brains. I ran back into the bathroom and saw Mira leaning over the tub, looking at the faucet, begging the water to move quicker. I screamed at her, "Move away, move away." Then I laid you in the tub with one arm and dropped the frozen cold all over you. You were looking bad. Your eyeballs were rolling all over the place. I had to think with all my brains. Your sister kept asking me if you're going to die. I then picked you up and ran out into the dining room. I grabbed my coat and lay it flat on the dining room table and wrapped you up in it. I knew I had to go outside and get some help. I hated to leave your sister there alone, but I had no choice. I told her not to go anywhere. Don't answer the door. Don't answer the phone. Don't speak. Don't move. She listened. She listened too much. Your sister didn't move. She didn't even go to pee. When I got home, she was exactly where I left her. Your sister was frozen stuck.
I could picture her giving Mira those immobilizing instructions and then making the sign of the cross 20 times, sloppy-like, all over her chest, in record speed before she ran out the door like a shot out of hell. My mother never included that part in her story, but I saw it anyway.
I ran down the middle of the street with you in my arms, wearing just a cotton dress and my slippers. I didn't feel the cold at all. You hardly weighed anything. There was a pharmacy a couple blocks away. I remembered they had a doctor's office on the second floor. I ran down the middle of the street as fast as I could, and then into the pharmacy and up the stairs. The second floor was dark and had a long hallway of doors on both sides. My eyes were serious. They took me from one door to another, looking for the word doctor on the glass. I was nearly at the end of the hall, and then I saw Dr. Yurka. Oh, relief swept out of my head, but not for long. I couldn't get the door open. I looked around me. His door. Every door was closed. No one was working. It was a holy day. Even good Jewish doctors didn't work on Good Friday. I walked down to the pharmacy, and I just stood there in place. I couldn't move no more. The cold talked to my head, and it started me shaking. "My baby's dead," I said. Everyone looked at me. My hair was crying down my face. My dress was dripping cold water. I was standing there in a puddle of disbelief. I was a mess. "My baby's dead," I said. The pharmacist took you from my arms and laid you on the floor. When he opened the coat, you were already blue, dead blue. The skin on your face was tinged, and your small eyes turned inwards. People in the store were looking down at you and whispering words they sent to the heavens. Everything inside of me left. God took me from all happiness. I thought for sure God had punished me for something I did, something big. Then 2 firemen walked in like they were archangels from heaven. They came from nowhere. We all moved aside. They knelt over you and brought you out of death and back to the living.
Violet would pause at this part, taking a deep breath, and change the tone in her voice.
Your father left work that day and went to the hospital, and we brought you home that very night. Your sister Myra got unfrozen, and I watched over you for 2 days straight so the devil wouldn't take you back to the convulsions. Everything was back to normal, except you were not the same. You changed. You were like a jumping bean. You could not be still for a minute, full of mischief and opinions. You made me crazy from that day on. Never knew what to expect from you. I talked with God, and God talked with the druggist, and it was about that time when I started taking those pills for my nerves. It all worked out, and never again on Good Friday did your father or any of us go to work.
There was talk among women in my family. They said that life took away that precious angel from this earth and dropped in this rather hell-bent, tenacious child. Thank you for listening. My name is Suzka, and this is the Dementialand podcast.